Hey folks, awesome GNAT News. We're in the beautiful summer of 2021. We've just gotten through that dark COVID winter. And if you're like my family, we're all thinking of doing something fun this summer. The family vacation. And my biggest worry is that 1 billion people are going to be thinking the same thing and that maybe this would be the worst summer in history to try to take a vacation. And then someone reminded me of a very cool club in Vermont. And then I should look into it. So that's what we're doing. Today we're going to meet a wonderful woman by the name of Pat. She knows all about this club. She's done it. She's going to clue us into what it's like. So let's go meet her. What is the 251 Club?
Well, there are 251 towns in the whole state of Vermont. So back in the 1950s, a man named Arthur Peach, who happened to be president of the Vermont Historical Society, formed the 251 Club because he wanted people to travel around the state and not just drive right through a town, but to really stop and smell the roses and get a feel for the town and meet the people.
So why did it attract you?
Well, we moved here in 2005. And traveled around the state some, but in 2014 there was an article in Vermont magazine about the 251 Club, and it made it sound kind of cool, something really fun to do, so we could get around and really see the state, visit all these places, have a plan to do all the parts of the state rather than just right around here, and so in 2014, I signed up for the club. They sent me all their information.
Oh, so tell me a little bit about that.
Well, they have a fountain of information. They have a website that you can go to, and they have maps, and they have links to other places that you can find out. And and then you start doing some research. You can, if you're going to Barrie, you look up Barrie in Google Barrie, and we have all kinds of things that you can visit. So before we would hit the road, I would research a town and know what I wanted to see. So we started in Bennington, because it was close, and then we did Pownell, and from there worked our way east to Brattleboro, doing all of the towns south of Route 9. So
how far from your initial home base here did you allow yourself? Like a 3-hour drive and then you return?
Yeah, it depended on the day.
Depending on the day and how you felt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they were all day trips within this area. You can get quite a bit done.
Now, can you cheat? Meaning, if I've already been to Bennington, can I just check that off without going?
No, that was my husband's philosophy. But no, we had to go.
Okay,
I had to have pictures taken.
Oh.
On that day, and in each town, so there are.
Go ahead, go with that.
There are themes that people do. Well, you don't have to do anything really.
Yeah. There's
no rules and regulations to this whole thing, but people might do country stores, or they might do microbreweries, or covered bridges, or that kind of thing. And so we didn't do any of that really. We just did the town halls, schools, post office, libraries. Pretty much those 4 in each town. So we would go and find all those places in each town. I would stand in front of it and get my picture taken.
And that would be proof for the club?
Yeah. Well, they don't care. They don't want proof.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was just curious if at the end you get a certificate saying you did it.
You do.
You do get a certificate.
You do. You get this wonderful certificate.
Very nice. So they trust you that you did it.
They just trust you. Yeah.
That's cool.
I have 1,400 pictures to prove that I was in every one of those towns.
So you're ready for the case.
Yeah.
I got you. And how did you handle, when you had to go to Northeast Kingdom? Did you stay up there for days on end?
Well, yeah. Once we did from Route 4 south from Rutland to Woodstock south from there, then we did more overnight things. We would stay in bed and breakfast. And we stayed, like in Stowe or St. Johnsbury or those kinds of places, and we would stay multiple nights and
Right.
to get those kinds of things done.
And did you try to do this in winter as well, or did you keep the summer?
Pretty much summer because
Yeah.
the roads are not great in places. So it was pretty much spring. My birthday's in April, so I always wanted a trip for my birthday.
Yeah,
so we
that
would
sounds
end
like a
up
plan.
doing that. And fall is so beautiful. We did a lot of fall ones.
Were you able to achieve this in one summer? Or did it take like a couple of summers or to hit all these
Took
towns?
6.5 years.
Gotcha. So
6.5 years. We started in 2014 and we just ended this past September.
gotcha.
In Peacham, our last town we went to.
I love the way you did it because it sounds to me like there could be two groups of people. One, they just try to do it as fast as they can, like it's a race. But you seem to take a moment and smell the roses and really...
Not as much as we probably could have. There are people who really, really stop and smell the roses. And there's one person I read about paddled on some form of water in every town. So they had their canoe with them and would put in,
idea.
A lake or a stream or, I don't know, maybe a mud puddle. I don't know whether every town must have a body of water in Vermont, I guess.
That goes back to your theme you were talking about.
Yeah,
Whereas,
exactly.
Like if I wanted to see, every town's most unique waterfall,
Yeah,
you could do that theme
sure.
and try to find each
Sure.
one of those.
Sure.
Very cool.
We were kind of boring with just schools and libraries. But to be honest with you, there are some beautiful libraries. And
There's a lot of history there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was one thing that did surprise me a lot was that there were so many libraries. Almost every town in Vermont has a library. Even
Some
small little
some
out
of the
the way-
tiniest.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of these libraries are tiny.
Yeah.
Or they're in a little house or something. But some of them are grand. They're just beautiful.
So takeaways of this adventure, because you said it was also part of the adventure was learning about what was Vermont. Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
And so,
Sure,
so
sure.
when you look back on it, give me your thoughts.
Things that you didn't think about, I guess, that we saw along the way that were so unique. And for instance, the Hope Cemetery.
Yes, I've been there.
Have you? Oh my gosh.
Is it amazing?
It's amazing.
Everyone
Just
should take that trip.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's just the granite workers, and you probably know this, but the granite workers that worked in the granite mines around Barrie could design their own tombstones and carve them themselves. And there's one with a big cello on it that's gorgeous. There's
I've
a
seen
soccer ball. My absolute favorite is the angel, and she's a really beautiful angel, big wings, and she's sitting on a stone bench. She's got her legs crossed, and she's just leaning on her knee with her hand under her chin.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool picture,
It's an astounding place.
Yeah.
Did you find a town that was just incredibly small, but there was something about it that was just beautiful or stood out, or is that a hard question? Because they're all kind of like that.
It is a hard question. There were a few towns that just really did impress us. Bristol.
Right.
I like the town of Bristol. It had a big town square.
Uh-huh.
And, another thing about Bristol that was really unique, just outside of town, there's a big rock, big boulder, right by the side of the road, and I mean really right on the side of the road, and it's got the Lord's Prayer carved on it.
Carved on the front of it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I actually looked it up. There's a story about it that some doctor who was raised in the area wanted to come back and check out this. He lived in Buffalo now, but he was coming back and he was a doctor, and he was coming back to check out the area and see, what it was like now that after he had moved away. And this road that goes by this big boulder is very curvy and very hilly and extremely dangerous, and there's all kinds of accidents. And his thought was that the loggers pulling these, and he had this job when he was a kid. He drove logging trucks, and he would come down, and once he got to this rock, then he knew he was okay, so he would say a little prayer. So that was one theory. And then another theory was that the loggers, all these other loggers that would come down this curvy, hilly road and everything would be swearing away. And he wanted the Lord's Prayer there to remind them that they shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain. So,
for the rest of all time. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Any final thoughts about this whole thing that you'd like people to know?
It was just fun, just something fun to do. I think my husband thought I was a little nuts, but he went along with it.
I like your craziness.
Yeah. It was just fun, and to me, it was just interesting to see the whole state. You could see, all of it. Each town was different. The island towns, Hero and Isle La Motte and Grand Isle, those are beautiful. Just beautiful up there.
And we rarely ever see them down here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So.
Right. And the Northeast Kingdom was, in spite of the fact that there's not much there, it is beautiful. It really is. And
well, Pat, you kind of inspired me to really think about doing this myself. So thanks. And thank you for spending time with us today.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
This was fun.
Okay. Thanks.
I did enjoy it.